Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Balance. Again, I really appreciate all your support because, like I've said 1,000 times, this is me coming at y'all for real. This is me from my heart, my soul. This is who I am. I don't put on like none of that. It's like my little form of therapy, and I feel like it can help other people. And I just feel like it's something fun to do, and I'm passionate about it. And I thank you for tuning in and listening to my passion. And again, like, repost, follow me, tell your friends, or on Twitter, like retweet me when I tweet it. I pretty much advertise every day, so you'll have a chance to retweet things. But again, I appreciate your support, and especially those of you already mention it to people or have been retweeting it and stuff. Like, I appreciate it so much, and I can't say it enough. So hopefully today's episode won't be as long as it was last week. But again, I want to talk about certain things, so but again, as always, it's going to be music in between to help smooth it all out. I hope you enjoyed that Prince Let's Go Crazy. I wanted to start this week's episode with that because I just felt like it was just so appropriate for the dialogue, that will occur today. And then what you'll find this episode is that I'm not gonna play any new music. It's gonna be like throwback songs that I just feel like are worth bringing back up and playing, and for you to vibe to and just reflect on memories or what have you. So, and I shift a little gear with that. But so let's go ahead and jump into this week's episode. So, guys, I want to talk about a little bit of celeb stuff. So, Kanye West. I don't want to go into it much. I had a whole episode dedicated to a read for him last week. But I do want to say I found it interesting that he got liposuction, given that, hey, like, that's what his mom got. We all know that she died, and we all know he's having a hard time coping with it, given especially how he's been trying to put the doctor who performed the surgery on the cover of his new album, which is totally crazy, and the doctor told him to cease and desist, and that's not going to happen. And again, it wasn't his fault. If you did read the report, it is the cousin's fault. He didn't stay with her. He didn't monitor her. But anyway, so I just find it interesting that he got liposuction. But I will say it kind of makes sense in a way because he's around the Kardashians. And so let me say, I do understand people saying do not blame them for everything because it is misogynistic in a way. Because, hey, yeah, society tends to blame the woman and place all the blame and the problems and all that on the women. So I do get that, and I do get that argument. But, sorry, I do think that environment, and I do think they affect him because, they're all about image. They're all about how they look, their beauty. Like, Kim makes her living off her image. Like, her reality shows or the pictures that she posts or the magazines that she's on, like, that's how she makes her living. Like, I've seen her titties and pussy more than I've seen my own, I swear. She's always posted a nude. So I can understand when you're in an environment like that, and then like they all got the fake ass, and so you're in that environment, and like he said, he's seen how Rob was treated, and how Rob's life went downhill when he got fat. So it makes sense when you think about like when you're in a certain environment, it's going to influence you. So in that regard, it does make sense, and I can kind of understand why he did it, but it's just still odd considering like the toll like his mother's death has taken on him and continues to. But anyway, moving on, I think we all know at this point that Rihanna is launching a lingerie line. I think it's 4 days until it officially launches. I'm excited. I love that it's inclusive of all body sizes because everybody deserves to feel sexy, everybody deserves to feel cute, and everybody deserves to have cute and sexy things to wear, not just for a man or a woman if that's your style, but for themselves. Like, I'm gonna buy something. I don't have a man. I'm not even really dating right now, but I want to look cute for myself sometimes. Like, I want to be in the mirror like, hey, like, you cute girl, yes, like, you know what I'm saying. So there's that. And then of course we all know that she said with Drake, like, hey, we're not friends, we don't have a friendship anymore, but we're not enemies either. It is what it is. And I've seen people say, why are they focusing on that so much when, hey, she has a successful makeup line, hey, she's launching lingerie, hey, and there's rumors out about her doing a reggae album. Like, why focus on the man stuff? And I mean, that's our patriarchal society. Like, on the red carpet, women get asked about who are you wearing and stuff like that, where men might get asked more about, what project are you working on next, or how do you feel about this movie, or something like that. Like, they're more likely to get those types of questions and be fielded those types of things, where women are, more about our dress. So, it goes back to that. But I also think it was interesting, and I kind of get why, because, Rihanna and Drake had a public thing. He was over here fighting Breezy and everything in the club, and, they've had dope collabs together, and I'm just kind of sad because I think those won't happen anymore. But I respect Rihanna and her agency and what she wants to do. And, I also understand that, like, she did look uncomfortable, as she said she was during Drake's little speech before she got her award at the VMAs. She would dab or whatever and just make little faces, but there's no real expression on her part, on her end. And I think, like, he tried to kiss her or something and she curved it, and it's like, he said he loved her since he's like 22 years old or what have you. If you love her and if you know her, you either know, one, y'all not on the same page, so you don't need to do this, or two, that she's not that type of person that you would do this on the stage for, because she's not going to be feeling stuff like that. So it's like, is your love really real? Do you really respect her and how she is? And I also understand the criticism of Drake, because, hey, like, yeah, like, why would you do that and, put her on the spot like that in front of everybody? Because you not only have the people in the audience, but the people at home, the millions of people at home watching. And it does kind of seem like a forced upon situation. It does happen in real life. So I get the criticism and stuff like that. And of course, people saying, oh, like, he wants to shoot a shot, but that's not the space you shoot your shot. You're a millionaire, she's a millionaire. There's so many other ways he can shoot a shot that he doesn't have to do it that way. And I'm sure she prefers that he not do it that way. I mean, she has a new billionaire boo, and he didn't do anything on TV. He approached her a different way, in a way that Rihanna can relate to. So there's that. So Janelle Monáe, she came out as pansexual. And I had a question about, like, what's the difference between pansexuality and bisexuality. And so on Twitter, someone educated me, and I'm going to say this is not my words, this is theirs. So what I'm saying could be incorrect, but this is what I was gathering. So bisexuality, from what they were saying, it's like you're attracted to, men or women, but it's not necessarily simultaneously. And sometimes one might be, you might be attracted to more one than the other, and I'm not sure how accurate that is, but that's what I was told or saw on Twitter. And then pansexuality, like, you're attracted to, cis-identifying women and men. You're attracted to transgenders. You're attracted to basically everyone. Like she says, I'm a free thinking motherfucker, I'm a free being, or something like that, Janelle Monáe said. But I think it's important to understand the difference and to understand people's identities. And I don't do much LGBTQ stuff on the show, but I do think it's important to work them in and to talk about them and understand their lives and identities. And again, like, she's black and she's a black queer woman. And again, like, a person, their womanness, their sexuality, their identity, that all meshes with their blackness. There is no separation. So when you're saying Black Lives Matter and you're marching and you're trying to defend our lives, you're including Black LGBTQ lives, stuff like that. So that's important to keep in mind. It's important to advocate for. And again, like I said, it's important to understand them and their lives and stuff like that. So the episode for this week is titled "This Is America," inspired by Donald Glover's music video. So I actually watched it while I was at work today, and I watched it twice because I really did want to pick up on some things that I felt like were important or different messages. And I think it was a powerful video, and I think there is so much in it, and I'm sure that even though I just watched it twice, that I still missed stuff. And then I also want to preface this by saying that, everybody, they're going to see things differently. Like, you might get something different than I did, or you might get the same thing, or me and you might agree, but then someone else might, or they might see something in a totally different other way. Then it's like, wow, well, maybe that's what he truly meant. So, I mean, I'm just over here offering things that I saw because I think it's just dope to have a discussion, and I think art is supposed to make you think because it's expressive and it's supposed to challenge your mind. You're supposed to think about it. You're supposed to hear it. So for me, in the beginning, the music in the background, it reminded me of spirituals, and it was tribal, so it just felt really ethnic. It just felt really black. And then the placement of it is right before he says, "We just wanna." And so for me, that's reflective of how we use song to get through things, like in church, or we use God. Like we use these things to push through and, to communicate. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to communicate a message. So for the person being shot on the bench, their face was covered. They had like something over their face, a bag over their face. And so I had many different things from this. So for me, it's like, I'm going to relate this to black men and women. And because, yes, black women face violence too, police brutality and all this, that, and the third. Maybe not at the same rates as black men, but we do face it. So when I say this, I mean both of us. So I say this as when the guy was being shot on the bench and his bag was over his face, I took it as that they don't see us as a person but as an object. Or it doesn't matter what your face looks like or who you are as a person. They have this preconceived idea of who you are anyway. And then also I had this idea that, it occurs so often, and so you don't always get the names and the faces, or the stories are not always out there, It just happens. It's unheard. It just happens and no one hears about it and their lives just perish and there's no justice for it. So, I just took different things from that. And then, of course, when he shot him, like, he gave the gun away, I guess, like, he gave the gun away, the evidence or whatever. And it was like, to me, like, I saw it as, like, and he just went about his merry way. And it just made me think of police officers, like, they commit a murder and then they can do, like, and I'm going to call it a murder because that's what it is. And they just go along their merry way. So I just feel like that was that police brutality connection. And then again, like, I just feel like it's representative of how we use our creativity, and our voice and our movement from the dancing you did to be expressive and to get through life. Like, when we crack jokes all the time and we laugh sometimes to avoid the pain or to push through the pain or to help bring some brevity because shit gets hard and it's like, it gets to you. So sometimes you just need to crack a joke, Like, some people, when they've been stressed so much, they might bust out into hysterical laughter. Like, sometimes you just have to have these coping mechanisms, and that's what we do so well. Also, for me, what I noticed, it was like in a parking garage. So for me, it was like maybe not necessarily a parking garage, but for me, it was just like an underground structure. So it made me think of the Underground Railroad again. So, that was just interesting. And then just the way it's underneath the surface. And I guess, like, for me, like, I think about, like, white people or even other people of color who might not see it. Like, we have, there's more to that meets the eye. Like, we go through so much and, our experiences are often buried or ignored and they're always under the surface. And y'all only see, like, the cops said he feared for his life. So that's it. Y'all see the surface, but y'all don't think about the layers. Or when it comes to our discrimination, how systematic now, like, again, like, they see, like, oh, you have affirmative action, which, again, mostly helps white women, historically has, or you have this or you have that, or, you have this law now, or, like, things like, oh, unemployment is, like, they just think, like, there's equality happening, but they don't look at these layers, and you have to look at these layers, or they just might see one thing, like, I don't know, like, prison rates, and it's like, okay, but why is that? Like, they don't think about the school to prison pipeline. They don't think about all these other things that lead to this. They just see the surface. So for me, I just got that, and I could be thinking too hard, but again, that's just what I got from it. I did see this criticism on Twitter, and I agree. So of course, the shooting in the church members was likened to what happened in South Carolina, I believe Charleston, with Dylan Roof, and some people said it's insensitive, and I think it is too, because they said, and it's like, we've seen these images so much, and it's like we're becoming desensitized, and I just feel like this kind of leads to it more. Like, I get what he's trying to do with his art, and so, like, I'm not mad at it, but I do see how it can be seen as insensitive, especially, for those who did experience it, who knew the family member that died, things like that, and that I just don't think that we need to. I do see the argument. People say, like, hey, like, maybe we shouldn't retweet these images or these videos or whatever, because, like, you're just spreading this. People are becoming desensitized, and that's a problem. When they're becoming desensitized, then it's no longer a horror. It's not something that makes them necessarily want to act. Like, I'm becoming desensitized to school shootings because you read about it every day, and that's a problem. So I get these criticisms that people have, and I understand that. So for me, like that running piece at the end was so powerful. And it's just like, for me, it's just like he's running, and you see this like intense fear in his face, and it's like fear of what can happen, or fear of it, like, is it gonna get better? But it's like he's running, he's trying, and I just think it speaks to how we always keep going, and we're always persevering and stuff like that. um and then also, like, for me, like, I noticed that there were kids dancing in the video, and for me that's saying like, hey, they they face the ills of America. They aren't allowed in innocence. So like he's talking about very, like horrific thing that we deal with, like our life, our livelihood, and he includes kids because they, like black kids, again, they aren't allowed their adolescence. I mean, you got teachers pulling people by the dreads. I read an article like children in school, or they're cutting the hair, like they're just treated this way, or one minor infraction and they're out of school suspended for like a week. It's just like, or like Tamir Rice, 12 years old, and they didn't even give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's like playing on the playground, and they just automatically shoot within seconds. You don't even give a chance to even analyze the situation. And again, like I always say, like, it's the job is to de-escalate, not kill. So you could have just shot him in the leg if you really fear for your life that much. That would have took him down, and you could have handled the situation from there. But again, anyway, like, or Trayvon Martin, like they aren't, or Mike Brown, they aren't allowed their innocence. So I mean, that's what I got from that. And then for me, like back to the choir member thing, it's like he joins them and he dances with them. Like, yeah, that's like Dylan Roof, because he sat down, he prayed with them before he murdered them all, which is trash as fuck and disgusting, and I hope he rises in hell. But moving on, to me, it represented something bigger, like, closeted Trump voters, fake allies, because people who roll with you or say they're with you aren't always for you. And it's like, all these people around you, they smile on your face, and, they kiki with you, and they might say, like, they might be your friend. I'm using air quotes. Or you might date them, or whatever. Just they might be in your life. But this election showed, and this current state of the world that we can see, is that a lot of people are racist or sexist or whatever, or they're complicit in it. They let it slide. They may not be outright, but again, they're complicit. They let it happen. They just stand by the sidelines. So that's what I got from that. The chaos in the background, I've seen so many interesting things, but all that I'm saying is everything, I'm sorry, that I've seen myself. That when I watched it, I thought. So for me, the chaos in the background, I think, because he's talking about larger things, bigger picture stuff in his video, but I also think in the background, I think he's telling us, so I think it's reflective of our community, and I think in one way he's saying, hey, like we have these bigger things going on that we definitely need to focus on a lot, but don't neglect our communities too. But I also thought at the same time that the community was in the background a little bit to emphasize the police brutality and the institutional racism as the bigger problem, and that also our community happenings, whatever goes on, is like a symptom of a larger thing, a larger evil. And so like people love to throw out black on black crime whenever like something happens. Like that's their favorite argument to throw out to distract from the real issue. So I don't know. I just kind of likened it to things like that. And then when he just paused for a while and like just to take everything in, and then he started smoking, and it's just like the coping mechanism. Like I think like a lot of things in video just express how we're coping and things like that. And then not only that, like I don't know about this, but I just thought it was interesting to point out that at the end I did notice that all of the cars had hazard lights flashing. So I don't know what that's about. But I just thought that was something interesting. And so these are just things I got from watching the video 2 times. I would love to hear your thoughts. I've seen some, but I'd love to hear more. So guys, share that with me. So yeah, so we're going to take a little break and then we'll be back. Hi guys, thank you. We're back. So as you might know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and as you probably do know for sure, mental health is very important to me. As I suffer from some mental health issues myself, and just in general, I'm an advocate for it. So, of course, I have to discuss a little bit for this week's episode. So, I want this, like, I'm gonna say like some things that, work for me or some of my thoughts, but I would love if you listen for you to tweet me, Melanin Queenin, about things that work for you. So for me, like, what are some ways to decompress? How to deal with anxiety or depression, healthy life tips. Um, so trust me, I'm still struggling and I don't have a by the book way to cope. But there are some things I do that sort of help. So what I did is I created a Zen corner in my bedroom, and um, it has on the wall is like a little picture of a tree with all the chakra colors, and it has the chakras all lined on the wall. I also have my crystals, and I have my lavender candle, and I'm gonna buy some more candles. But I also have a little water fountain, and it's very small, and it didn't cost much. So it's like that peacefulness and tranquility of the water going, and so that helps create like a zen space, a good atmosphere. And they tell you to exercise, and honestly, it does help. It helps your body feel good, which helps even if your mood doesn't magically improve like they say it would. It does help it improve some, because when your body's feeling good, you're gonna feel good too. So that's something. And even if it's, you don't have to do any intense cardio or weights, and those things are great to do. You can just do simple walks around your apartment or your neighborhood or what have you, depending on how you stack it and how you live in. Go for runs, or you can do yoga. There's plenty of like, and if you don't want to go to a gym for whatever reason, introvertedness or anxiety or whatever, like, or like fear of how people will perceive you or judge you or whatever, there's plenty on YouTube. It's a magical place for like yoga instruction or like cardio or weights, whatever. So you can do it all in the comfort of your own home. So that helps. I'm also a huge proponent in journaling. I try to journal at least once a week, but my therapist wants me to do it every day. Still working up to that. But again, it's all baby steps in everything you do, like when you're trying to heal and get yourself better. So, I mean, journaling is definitely a helpful tool. Redirecting your energy. And people say keeping yourself busy, and I do believe that you need to keep yourself busy, but not too busy to where it creates more of stress and stuff on you. Because people say you can sleep when you're dead. Like, no, sis, that's not healthy. Um, so, I mean, keep yourself busy, but not too busy that you don't make time for yourself. Because, again, self care is important too for feeling better and just in general. And you don't want to overwork yourself or get yourself more stressed, because then it's going to create more mental health issues and give you more to be like anxious about. So I mean, just simple things like, what's a hobby you can maybe do it once every week, twice every week, or just once every 2 weeks, whatever works for you. Again, baby steps, and everybody's different. So I mean, just finding a hobby you like, or picking something back up that you stopped a while ago. I mean, just what have you, like just redirecting your energy on something else can help. Like my podcast, it helps me redirect my energy. I am not texting that fuck boy, like, because we are sometimes, we are drawn to negative behaviors. So just redirect your energy into stuff that's positive or helpful, that it'll just, it'll be better for you. Um, Also, I believe in grounding, and you can't just stay anywhere outside. But if you believe you're like in a nice park or in like some area of nature, or if you're on a beach, like just be whatever you can do. Just be as close to the ground as you can. And if you don't believe in being barefoot, though it does help, just be as close to the ground as you can, or even in your own space. Like sometimes when I'm over anxious or overwhelmed, I stay on the floor in my bedroom, and it grounds me and it helps calm me down. Or I'll just lay down on the floor. Like, if you vacuum and clean your floor, it shouldn't be that much of an issue. You know what I'm saying? So do that and just be grounded. Um, and those are things like that. Or just, listening to music, musical therapy, or, having scents, like aromatherapy is very real, or just, watching TV. I mean, what have you? Find a vice that you can redirect. And then if you think, watching TV can be unhealthy, then how about you watch something educational on TV? Like, I have like 9 episodes about planets in the universe, because I'm very interested in that, recorded. So it's like I can binge on TV in that way, and it's like healthy and educational, which helps the mind, not only with anxiousness, but, learning and stuff, helps keep dementia and stuff away. Um, so again, it's just stuff like that, and I always believe in making time for yourself. away from your phone, electronics, social media, because social media can be very damaging to you mentally and emotionally. And fuck all these people who want got people sensitive or whatever. Like, no, you're just used to being insensitive and rude as fuck. So it's like, sorry, for a second, it's playing again. So it's like, step away with social media because comparison can happen, and it's just so many things. Social media can be so damaging. The things that you see or just news stories, like, they're worth hearing, but they can also be damaging or just stressful or just what have you. Or people being negative all the time on social media, because that happens too. So it's just like, find ways to isolate yourself from that sometimes and decompress, take a break, a hiatus, whatever you want to do. It's just different things like that. So yeah, I would love for y'all guys to share some of the things that you also find helpful for you to decompress, because I would love to retweet it and share things with other people. So I was on Huffington Post because I try to read that, and I found this interesting article where it's like 5 ways you're shaming mental illness and you may not know it. And like they say underneath, your words and behaviors matter, and people don't get that. Like, if you listen to the Read podcast, they always say words mean things, and I don't think people realize that. It's not just words. Like, nigger was not just a word, was it? If someone called you that to your face, it's not going to be just a word. It's going to be something that matters and something that's going to make you rock this shit. So, you know what I'm saying? Keep that in mind. And people say, oh, you shouldn't compare this to this, apples and oranges. Sometimes you need, why it might be, in your opinion or view, a lesser degree, it doesn't mean anything. Like, an analogy is an analogy, a metaphor is a metaphor. Like, y'all learn those basic things in elementary school, you know what I'm saying? So, it's just helpful to place a perspective, because sometimes you have to place in a perspective that the other person can understand. So while you might think they're being extra dramatic, especially when people compare, how black women or women are treated to, it's the black man's form of white supremacy, y'all might think it's outrageous, but it's a way to put it in perspective so you guys can understand what we're saying or where we're coming from. But you just have to be open to hear that message. Anyway, so one of the ways is casually throwing around terms like depressed or OCD. This irritates the shit out of me. These are very real mental health conditions, and you're trivializing it, and you don't understand the real struggle that people go through with these things. Being depressed isn't fun, it isn't trendy, it is hard, it is difficult, it is hurtful, it is exhausting. It is all of these things. So just don't throw that around loosely because you're down about something so minimal that you'll be forgetting about in the next hour or two, or maybe the next day. People have to live this the rest of their lives. People are on medication. People have to go to therapy for these things. Just don't throw them around. Or OCD. People can't leave the house without checking something 50 times. Just because you want this straight, that's not OCD. Or whatever. Or do not throw these around, because it's really trivializing their life and it's very insensitive. You wouldn't want someone, whatever you struggle with, you wouldn't want someone trivializing it. So again, step in other people's shoes. Think about your own perspective, your own struggles. Like, would you want someone doing something that would just minimize it and made it feel like it's so, you just don't want to do that. So just, again, take that perspective. Blaming mental illness for every mass shooting, that's just so harmful, and it just helps foster this stigma that blocks people from getting help or accepting diagnoses or what have you. And it's just inaccurate too. Yeah, there are people who might have mental health disorders and they do something, but according to a 2015 study, fewer than 5% of gun-related killings are committed by someone diagnosed with a mental illness. So not only are you fake newsing shit and you're spreading falsities, it's just being really inaccurate and harmful, and you're again contributing to that stigma, and you're just making it so hard for people, and we already face enough in our struggles, so we don't need that. And it also is harmful because it doesn't really address the real issue of what's behind mass shootings, which are domestic terrorism incidents. So it's also harmful to us, but it's also harmful to the greater society because we're putting on something that is really not. And then referring to someone as psycho or crazy, that is so harmful. And again, it furthers the stigma and it makes people ashamed. It creates fear. It makes them not want to get help. It just, I mean, it does all these different things. And you just really need to watch your words, because I can't say it enough. Words mean things, y'all. Words mean things. Again, like, do you want to be called nigger by somebody, or nigger, sorry? Do you want to be called that by a white person? Like, or like, you know, how women feel like if they're called a bitch by somebody, or if they're labeled with the angry black woman stereotype, like, do you want that? So people with mental health issues, or like, you know, like LGBT people don't want to be called faggot, like, and I'm just using that just in this, like, I'm just trying to hit every kind of slur I can think of to put it in perspective. Like, mental people who suffer mental health issues, they don't want to be called psycho or crazy, but you also don't need to just throw it out there at people, because again, it just willy-nilly at people who aren't even anything, because a lot of times men and sometimes women, wherever, we throw these psycho and crazy terms out about people that is just really not that. And sometimes you don't think about our part and why they act the way they act, because a lot of times we react. We're not, this is not a proactive, or whatever the word is for it. Um, but yeah, so it's just, again, it's just a stigma. Just don't do it. And then labeling someone based on their illness. So like they said in the article, you wouldn't call someone who has cancer a cancerous person. So it's like the same rules apply to someone experiencing mental health conditions. So, um, you know, it's just like, watch your word choice. Like, it's like, oh, that person's borderline, like, or like, or say like, I don't know, just like, just using terms like schizophrenic or borderline, saying, say, a person with schizophrenia or a person with borderline personality disorder. It just helps create less of a stigma. And then judging or teasing someone displaying abnormal behavior. Like, y'all, like, people cannot help sometimes how they are. It's just, it's sometimes indicative of a mental health issue, or, like, I mean, you just don't understand. Like, it's just, I just ask everybody to be cautious, um, and to be sensitive, and not even necessarily sensitive, just be empathetic, have sympathy, compassion, all these different things. Um, so I kind of wanted to shift into like a relationship thing, but I don't want this to be too long. So I'm just gonna offer some quick views on things. So I want guys you've ended things with leave you alone. I don't know if this will help other people, but it's helped me. And I realized that it's not even about me. It's not that they miss me. It's not that they realize I'm this great person. It's about, first of all, if they reach out and you respond, it's an ego boost to them. Like, I still got shawty wrapped around my finger. So it's that ego boost. It feeds them, especially if they go ghost again. It's all about them needing ego boost. They might be at a rough patch in their life, or fighting with their girlfriend or boyfriend, what have you, and you're feeding their ego and you boosting them, and you don't need that. It's not even about you. It's not about them wanting this. It's like they still don't recognize the greatness that was you. So it's like, don't let them back in, block them, and move on with your life. Um, and then growing together, but like, versus growing apart. I believe that people can grow together, but I also do think at some point, some people will sometimes need time away from each other to come back to a point where they're a cohesive unit and then can grow together more. So it can go either way. So just, again, I love to hear your opinions on it. Um, and then, so I wanted to briefly touch on um, maternal health. I was reading an article, I think it's on NPR. And so the U.S. has the highest maternal death rate of any developed country, sorry, and it is rising here, while meanwhile it's declining everywhere else. Some doctors specializing in maternal and fetal medicine completed their training without ever being in a labor delivery unit. And only 6% of block grants, federal and state block grants for maternal and child health granted by the government, actually go to the mothers. So that's something to think about. And I know I just said a lot and I might have said a little fast, but you can always hit rewind, or you can listen again, or have your friend listen and they can tell you what I said. But I think maternal health and death and infant mortality, I think we need to put that at the forefront of women's health and our feminism, or just our advocacy in general, because it is an issue. I'm sure you've all heard about Native American. It was Native American students. They had saved up. They went on a college tour. Can't remember the college at the moment. But gosh, I wish I could remember, but I can't at the moment. So anyway, the cops were called and they were removed because they made the people feel uncomfortable. And I'm going to focus on just speaking from a Native American context for a minute because they don't get as much attention to their issues as they deserve. And Native Americans, like, they were here first. Y'all intruded. They felt held uncomfortable. And then y'all making them sick with y'all diseases because y'all not clean. And y'all have consistently ruined their lives and the lives of others. But I mean, you genocide and you've killed so many of their family members, so many lines and tribes, and you forced them on these small reservations that you still make hell for them, and you stole their resources and all these different things, and then they're trying to further their education and live a best life, and you're over here saying you feel uncomfortable. Why? What makes you feel uncomfortable? They're here for a school tour. They're trying to learn about the university. But you're uncomfortable. Their skin makes you uncomfortable because you're uncomfortable with anything that's not you. And that's just, it's so fucking harmful. And I mean, I would say they don't understand, but I think they do understand that when they call, for Native Americans or black people, because I've read articles about, like police can call Starbucks, people like they accuse of black teens of loitering or whatever. When you call the police on people of color, and I think they realize this, that you're sending a death warrant, and it's just another, or possible death warrant, and it's just another way of genocide. And it's a systematic thing, and it's just, I don't know what to do about it, but I think it's something that we definitely need to push more for, and that we need to speak out about more. Like, I mean, you know, going on college tours while Native American, being in Starbucks while black. I mean, what can you do? Where is our freedom? Like, why can't we just live our lives? We're not bothering you. And in fact, it's more likely that white people are to bother us. So again, it's a stressful thing. So I did want to end this episode with a shout out to black men because one, like, not even a follower, but someone saw that my question that was retweeted, and it was about what black men need to hear, and I kind of wanted black men's perspective, not necessarily about what they needed to hear, but what they wanted to get out. I think that was my question, but she turned it into what black men would need to hear, and so I thought it would be good because while black men can be problematic and while these things need to be addressed and called out, I do want to express the love that I have for black men and that many of us have for black men. We just want the love back. But to keep it on a positive note, like, y'all are loved, y'all are cared for, and we fight so hard for y'all because y'all are valued, even if society doesn't see the value in you and your life. Y'all are fine, like sexy, like y'all can be so smart, creative, intelligent, like black men are it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Black men and, black women, like, we poppin'. We're it. So I just wanted to close the show with that. So yeah, again, thank you guys for listening so much. I appreciate it. I hope this episode was interesting. Again, tell your friends about it, retweet, share anything, reblog, repost, follow. Again, I just want to get the word out there. I want y'all to keep listening. I want more to keep listening. This means so much to me. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.